kettlebell carry series. First one is starting off with 2 hands, 1 kettlebell in each, shoulders back and big chest, and he's gonna go ahead and take off and walk, keeping the core tight, taking the requisite amount of steps, and then once he gets to that point, making a clean turn around, and coming right back. So once he finishes that first carry with 2 hands, he's gonna drop 1 kettlebell, and we're gonna go ahead and go right in to the next series. So now we're on the single arm carry where he's got 1 in his left hand, and the right hand is out, staying strong, keeping himself stiff, not overcompensating. So now as he gets back and finishes the steps out with his left hand, he's gonna go ahead and switch and do the same thing with the opposite hand. Grab on, opposite side goes tight, make a fist and keep it stiff. And we're going ahead, taking our controlled steps, going down, turn around once you hit your amount of steps that you need, and then come back. Slow and controlled, same thing. All right, so this is an example of compensation where we don't have stiffness on the opposite side. This kettlebell is kind of dragging him down on this side without him being up and stiff. So now he's gonna come up upright and keep this opposite hand strong so that now he's in this position where he's straight up and down, his core is tight, and the opposite side isn't trying to help him compensate. So now this is another compensation we see where you're falling to the opposite side. So we know that this kettlebell is heavy in this hand, so the other side of the body is trying to drive it over. So again, we want to stay stiff with that fist up in the air so that we can combat that and keep everything straight up and down. All right, so this is an example of doing the battle ropes incorrectly. So Mario's a little loose going back and forth. He's making really big swings with his arms. We want him to be a little bit tighter, sitting down into more of a squat and keeping those ropes right in front of him controlled as he goes through it.
Correct.
All right, so now this is an incorrect way to do the barbell press. So Mario's pushing that bar out ahead of him in front of his face. We want to make sure that we get our head underneath that bar every time and then push it to where it's a little bit behind, right about the base of the skull and the spine. All right, so this is the overhead dumbbell press, where instead of having a barbell out to the side, Mario's gonna have these dumbbells tucked in close. This is a little bit more of a safe variation for the shoulders if they have problems. Pushing straight up top, hold, and then coming right back down, keeping these tight.
All right.
All right, now this is the overhead dumbbell press done incorrectly in terms of our program. So he's got his elbows winged out really wide. This is gonna be a much tougher variation on the shoulder and much harder to contain. So when he pushes up, he's coming up short and then having to muscle it right back. We wanna make sure elbows are tucked in and we're pushing straight up to the top and coming straight back down close as we can. This is our band calf press here. He's given a really good example where we have tension in that band first. He's gonna push straight out ahead of his chest and hold for at least a 1 Mississippi count, and then bring it right back into its starting position. So incorrect, he doesn't have control of this band over here. He's kind of moving every which way. And the biggest thing is he's letting this band control him and rotate him back. We never wanna let this band control us. We control it going in and out at a nice and controlled pace. So now we've got our kettlebell box squat here. So we use a box to make sure that we go to a solid range of motion that we know guys can get back up from. We don't want to sit down too deep. When he sits, he's going to go to about parallel and then pop back up, planting his feet and standing up tall. We want to keep that kettlebell strong up in the chest and not let it fall down. And each time we're going to push our butt back, pause at the bottom, and then stand all the way up top to the top. All right. So now this is an incorrect way to do our kettlebell box squat. So you can see Mario's letting his chest collapse down towards the floor, and he's only tapping that box for a quick second. So we want to make sure that we sit all the way down proper, pause, and then come back up, big chest to the top. So we want to stay up tall, don't let that collapse down to the floor. All right, so this is our glute bridge from the floor. You see Mario's got his feet planted right underneath him and he's pushing up. You really want to think about pushing through your heels as you come up and squeeze at the top. We don't want to push off of our toes. This should be a hamstring and glute exercise, so you'll feel it all on the back of your legs. We'll hold that up at the top for a second and then drop back down to the floor and reset. So now this is an incorrect way to do the glute bridge. So you can see he's got space underneath his back here where he's arched, and as he pushes up, he's coming onto his toes at the top. So we want to make sure feet are planted down flat, pushing through the heels, and that the back is flat to the ground as you push up from that glute bridge. All right, this is our Superman exercise done. So first of all, we've got our thumbs up in the front, and then we've got toes down in the back. And then when we pull up, we're gonna start this movement at the glutes right here. So you're gonna squeeze and then pull yourself up. You can see Mario's holding up top. We want at least a 1 Mississippi count up there, and then we'll come right back down to the bottom. So in this exercise, we wanna feel tension in the entire body. Once you get up here in that hold, your low back's gonna start it. Your glutes are gonna feel a lot, but throughout the entire body, you should feel tension as you hold that up at the top. All right, so now this is how we incorrectly do a Superman. I call this a fish flop. So he's kind of just loose coming up and then letting everything come back down without controlling himself. We wanna make sure, number one, that in the front, hands are turned up with the thumbs up. Those toes are turned towards the floor. And then as we squeeze and come up, we're holding that nice and tight for a second and then dropping back control down to the bottom.
Yep.
All right, so now here's 2 variations correctly done for the plank. Mario has a front plank on his forearms set nice and tight. He's got his elbows right underneath his shoulders and a straight back going all the way back to his feet. And then I'm holding a push-up plank here. My hands are stacked right underneath my shoulders, straight back to my hips and my feet. And we're gonna hold this position nice. And now, these are 2 incorrect ways to do these planks. One, you see Mario over here letting his back collapse down to the floor or letting his hips push up too high above him. And on the push-up plank, I've got my hands too far above my head, my hips are up high, or same thing, my hips could drop down below me down here. So we wanna make sure that we've got everything stacked nice and tight underneath us and that we're holding straight, not letting our hips drop or go down too far.